Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Creative Academy, your go-to source for accountability, coaching, and community for writers. I'm Crystal Stranaghan, and today we're chatting about BookBub and BookBub followers with best-selling author Jonas Saul. So first off, welcome, Jonas. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with all of us.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely. And maybe before we dive into content stuff, if you want to tell everybody just a little bit more about the kind of books you write and yeah, how you came to be here, that would be great.
Sure. I write thrillers. I've written over 30 novels. 20 of them are one series of books with a female lead character. She's a clairvoyant vigilante. And book 20 came out in May. That book series has been optioned for a TV series, and they've attached producer, showrunner, and so on. That's in pre-production. And this year I released with another publisher a new series a book called The Immortal Gene. It's book 1 of a trilogy. And that also has been optioned in Hollywood by a different producer. So lots of exciting things happening. And always writing, and my main genre is thriller.
Awesome. All right. Well, I have all kinds of questions, as I'm sure everybody does. But I'm curious, when did you start writing? When did your first book come out?
Well, I started writing in my late teens. In my 20s and 30s, I wrote short stories. I ended up collecting over 50 short stories. My first novel, I wrote that in 2001, right. During that year. When was I first published? That was 2011.
All right. So you've been a man on a mission then. That's some aggressive writing and publishing schedules. And of course, I always have lots of questions about that. And I have seen you in action on the Surrey Writers Cruise, crushing the word counts. So that was something we were talking about just today, actually, at the Creative Academy. So I have a question for you. What are, say, the top 3 things that you do that allow you to hit those word counts and keep to that sort of crazy production schedule, crazy in a good way?
Yeah, well, that's a great question because often people are so busy with their lives and work and so on and family that it is difficult to find time to get even 1,000 words done sometimes, or even 500. But you know, everything counts. Even at 500 words a day, you could do that in half an hour or 45 minutes. At 500 words a day, you've got a novel every 8 months. If you're in the 90,000 ballpark. Me, I do this full time, and whether I'm inspired or not, I get to my desk for 9 a.m. and start my typing, my daily count. I personally have worked myself up over the years. I used to do 2,000 a day, then 3, then 4, then 5. I like 5,000 a day as my go-to number. I don't do it per day though. So you're asked for 3 things. So here's the first one. It's per week for me. So I want 25,000 per week. So some days I'll do 7,000 or 8,000 if I'm in a good scene or my flow is great. The next day, I might only do 2,000 because I'm more tired or exhausted. I have some errands to run. So I don't do it per day. But basically, it's supposed to be 5,000 a day. I just make sure I hit my 25 a week, 5 days a week. I don't write every day. I like to take a day or 2 off. That's the first thing. But the second thing is really important is the discipline. You must sit down. You must make it a priority to get the word count. There are many things that I need to do that I've pushed off because for me, writing the novel, getting the book done is, unless there's an emergency, that's my number one thing. I can grocery shop later, even if dinner is going to be late. It's the writing that takes precedence. So I always get my word count before I do anything else. Unless of course something comes up, and then that's why I have a weekly count, so I can actually take the rest of the day and deal with issues or something. Another, what do you call it? Like when you walk under a ladder. Oh, my mind's going blank.
A superstition.
Superstition. Thank you.
Yeah.
A bit of a superstition for me is I always start a novel on a Monday.
Interesting.
I never start a novel on any day of the week except a Monday. So when I'm ready to start, I have chapter 1 typed, I'm ready to go. You will always find that on a Monday morning at 9 a.m. Then I do my 25. until Friday. Then the next Monday I do another 25. The next Monday I do another 25. So my first drafts are usually 3 to 4 weeks, and I'm done a first draft. Bear in mind though, I don't outline. And so people who outline take a couple of weeks or a month or however long they take to draft up an outline, and then they begin to write their novel as they now know where they're going. They've written a map, really. I don't outline. So what I do is I write the novel over 2 to 3 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on how long the book is. I consider that my first outline. That's my first draft, but that's actually just an outline in the form of a novel. It looks like one. It's broken into scene breaks and chapter breaks, and it's somewhat exciting and so on. So that's, I know I say I don't outline, but I do consider that first draft my outline.
Right.
And now I know where I want to go, and I've fleshed out several characters well, but the other ones I haven't. Or, geez, that's too much tension, plot, conflict, inner conflict in 6 chapters. There wasn't enough for the reader to take a breather. Okay, let me go back, and I'm going to rewrite that now and fix up those kinds of things. So I'm basically writing that outline as my first draft, and then I go back and I play with it and mold it. What you want to do is you want to build your rock. And then when I go back, I take the chisel and the hammer and I make my story, nice. From that.
Awesome. So you're actually like the most detailed outliner that ever was, as opposed to a non-outliner. Your outline is like, 80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I do consider myself a free writer, a pantser. I don't, as I said, outline. So I just sit and whatever comes to mind, where are my characters going today? I find that freedom. I find that there's a lot of freedom in that. And I find that when I get goosebumps when I'm typing, oh, this is really good. Oh, this is so exciting. I can't believe this is happening. Or even if I bring myself to tears, oh, that was so special in certain scenes. I find that my readers have those moments too. And last point I want to make on this topic is that I did try to outline once. I spent a couple of weeks and I wrote down bullet form of everything in this novel, where I want to go, what chapter, what this and that and the other thing. When I got to chapter 23, oh yeah, I got to set that up. I'm going to go back to chapter 10 and add a point. And so I made all these bullet points. And then I sat down and typed the novel from my outline. I found that process for me wasn't as effective. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Many people do that. I understand James Patterson is a very big outliner, but Lee Child isn't. And he completely sits by the seat of his pants and just types whatever comes to mind. So my point is, though, I did do it once. I did not find it effective for me. When I looked at the reviews on Amazon for that book, of all 30 plus books, it has the lowest reviews. When I was writing it, it felt cardboard to me because I'd already had all the excitement when I was outlining it.
Yeah.
So I find the process of just writing it my excitement.
Nice. Well, I really like that idea of you're discovering things alongside the readers. So that sense of newness and magic and fun and all of those things is kind of, you're getting that spark. You're riding that, the characters kind of have their way, their heads to run with. So that is a really fun way of thinking about that. And
to further to that point is there are several times in a book like book 17 of the Sarah Roberts series, for instance, at the end, I was 80% done the novel and I didn't know how it would end. I didn't know if the bad guy would be killed or injured or just handcuffed. I didn't know. And it was so exciting for me because I knew I'd be writing those scenes by Friday, and it was Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday morning. And I was like, what's going to happen? And it's not that I don't know. I do know there will be a culmination. I do know there will be a climax to this and an ending, but I knew where the chase was coming to a head, and I knew where Sarah would get the guy, sort of thing, and catch up to him. But I kind of didn't know what she'd do with him right up until the last scene. And then I was very comfortable what she did with him. And I kind of liked it. So I didn't do a rewrite on that part. So anyway, that's the freedom of, I have no idea sometimes. And it's so much fun to discover it day to day as I type.
Yeah, that's awesome. A great way to keep things fresh, to keep yourself interested, because by book, 40, you've been through the process a few times. You don't want to get too stale. You want to keep things nice and open-ended. So yeah, that's really fun. That's a great way of approaching it and looking at that first draft as, just giving yourself permission to call it an outline and not have all that pressure that it needs to be everything perfect and sorted out right at that very beginning. Now, one of the other things that I know about you, besides having, you know, sort of an epic word count goals and managing to just keep moving forward all the time with the series, is that you have a really strong following on BookBub as well. And so that's something that a lot of our members ask questions about is, you know, as an author, aside from the, you know, BookBub feature deal, which is sort of this mythical lottery ticket that people hear lots about, but BookBub as a platform to connect with readers is kind of a different thing. And so I've got a few questions around kind of how you built up that following, and then how you interact with people, how you use that platform to connect with people as well. So how long have you been on BookBub? When did you kind of join as an author there?
My first BookBub deal, I'm pretty sure it was January 2013. And it was a free deal. No, let me clarify. I say free, meaning you would think instantly that the email went out and said Jonas Saul's book is free. When I said free, it was BookBub gave it to me for free.
Oh, interesting.
I had done a it's funny, I had done a free deal for a book called Dark Visions, and I hadn't reached out to BookBub. I actually hadn't even heard of them in 2013 yet. And I saw my first day of sales had gone to, I don't know, 100, 150. The next day I wake up and I check on my dashboard, and I'd seen my sales were at 35,000. And I was shocked. I had no idea what had happened. Who the heck had shared this? Some Hollywood person, I don't know, someone famous. So, and then I got an email from someone named Brianna, I think her name was, at BookBub. And she said, I hope you don't mind. I saw your book was free, and you'd put it in an emailer like Book Gorilla or somebody, I forget who, had Kindle Nation Daily or something. And so we put it into our mail to show you what we can do for you.
Wow.
So my very first BookBub experience, they had put it in their email and then emailed me and told me, hope you don't mind. Well, of course I didn't mind. And by March of that year, I had an ad in BookBub, and I did it monthly for till 2016. So 3.5 years, I did a monthly ad with BookBub. I think in those 3.5 years, there was 1 month in total, or 6 weeks or so, where that was the biggest gap.
Right.
So when you do 3.5 years of advertising on BookBub on a monthly basis, I don't know why that lottery ticket thing, it's true. And I hear that all the time, but when I submitted to BookBub during those 3.5 years, they accepted almost every time. And if they didn't accept, I simply submitted a different book, and then they take that one.
Right.
I think they're a lot more selective today. And there are times when I have not gotten in the last year or so. Yes.
Right.
So I've been in a lot less. But that is one way I did build. I was fortunate enough to get in quite often in the early days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking about BookBub, though, as a platform for an author, this is free for you to sign up, set up your books, and like a page, really. And then readers can go and click the follow button. And what's fantastic about that is when I have a new release, BookBub emails to all of those followers for free. You don't even have to apply for this. It's just something they do, that there's a new release out. In addition to that, all of my followers, if I ever read a book that say I read your book and I love it, and I want to recommend your book, I go to BookBub, I search it, I hit recommend. And that book then gets free email to every one of my followers, because they're following Jonas Saul. So then they say, what's Jonas Saul recommending? And then, they go out. So I've done that several times for Chris Humphreys, CC Humphreys' new book. I had done a recommendation for his book, and there's a bump in sales on the day of recommendations from, I understand he had Diana Gabaldon do a recommendation through BookBub also. And she's got, I think she has over 250,000 followers on BookBub. So there's definitely a bump. And I noticed on Amazon, his rank had gone way up, and he did a post thanking Diana and myself and several others, Robert Degoni, I think and a few others. So this BookBub thing really works, and it's all free. The lottery ticket part you have to pay for, but If you can't get in, BookBub still has a platform that is moving books for people at no cost. Now, I have about 9,000 followers the last time I looked. I think I'm within 50 people of 9,000. And that certainly isn't a lot in, bestseller, New York Times lists, Stephen King's, Dean Koontz, Dan Brown's, Michael Connolly's. These guys all have, Lee Child. I mean, they're in the hundreds of thousands to millions of followers. So 9,000 isn't a lot, but it is when you look at indie authors or even Chris Humphreys. I mean, I no competition, but I do have a lot more than Chris. So anyway, it's really good to get out there, set up your account. And how do I get followers? A lot of those followers came because I was in the mailers.
Right.
And then people would see my name frequently and navigate to the site and click follow. So if I did have a new release, they would see that and so on. Another way I got followers was I would post on Facebook, hey guys, if you want to keep up to date, blah, 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 just click the follow button and you'll see A, what I'm reading, what I'm recommending, and B, you will get a personalized email every new release. So you can go about your busy life. If you don't want to miss a book, it's almost like, your own email newsletter.
Yeah.
But you don't have to manage it.
Have to manage, exactly.
Yeah.
And I know there is an option to check a box where if anyone else is recommending your books, like you actually get notifications when other people recommend your books too. Because I get those sometimes that one of my followers has recommended my book, and then you can get a sense of, okay, is there a follow through? Are you seeing a spike in sales that line up with those? And it is just a nice way to be aware of who else out there in the community is kind of enjoying what you're putting out there, and maybe connect with them. If there are other authors who are recommending your books, maybe they want to do a newsletter swap or something like that. So it is also, from an author to author perspective, there's also some opportunities for networking in there and making those connections with other people who are reading in your genre, for sure.
Absolutely. Because I did see Chris Humphreys recommended The Immortal Gene, my book, about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
So any of his followers then got to see that, and I got an email from that. That's right.
Yeah, for sure. And now I know you also have a couple other fun ways that you engage with readers. So not specifically around BookBub, but just talk a little bit about your postcards for a minute, because I think that's a really fun thing that you do that people might not, think of or be aware of.
Sure. I did a lot of traveling in the last 6-7 years. I spent 4 years in Europe, 3 of them in Greece. And while I was in Greece, I would take a 2-week vacation to, say, Budapest, or I spent a month in Rome. So while I'm traveling, what I would do is I would go on social media and say, okay, well, first 100 people to respond, I'm going to send a personalized postcard from Rome in a week and a half when I get there. So of course I would get 100 people to respond. And sometimes there's been a couple of times where that 100 responded within 10 minutes. And I went on to 300 and 400 and 500 people. I'm getting all these private messages, and I declined because it would take so long to do that many. I'd have to hire a team. I take my 100 and get their addresses. I get to Rome. My wife and I would buy a batch of postcards, because they sell them in bulk. You can get batches of 50 deep at a really reduced rate. So it's kind of effective that way too. So we would take that 100, get a bottle of wine, head up to the hotel room, and just sit, put on some music and sit and address these things the first night we get there. Next day we stamp them and send them out. And then we enjoy our vacation. And they're very personal. They're like, hey, thanks for reading, and Jonas Saul, appreciate your, whatever, send it out. But a week later, as these postcards are hitting the US or Australia or the UK, wherever I've been sending them to, the readers who have read my work and wanted these postcards, they take pictures of them often and put them up on Facebook and so on, even tagging me and saying things like, oh, my favorite author, Jonas Saul, sent me a card. So I think I really love that, because it's so genuine for the reader. I love engaging my reader, staying in touch with them. And I do that, but what it kind of does, though, there's a bit of it turns my readers into advertisers. Now, it's not a cheap way to do it, or less ethical or something. I'm literally just engaging them, and I don't ask them to promote it, but they always do. And then I read the comment stream, and some of these people have thousands of friends, and they're like, oh, Jonas, he sent you a book. Oh, I'm going to try this guy. So what happens is I often have seen my sales increase from that. Now, I did it a lot years ago. I went to Los Angeles to pitch some of the studios, and with my agent. And when we were pitching, I said, hey, I'm in LA. Who wants postcards? I've done it from Denmark. I've done it from Greece. And so I do it a lot. And now I'm doing Christmas cards. Right. So last year at Christmas, I put out a post, hey, I'm sending out 100, 200, I forget how many I did, but sending out a pile of Christmas cards. Who wants a Christmas card? And I often will insert my business card in there too, so they can see a cute little card that they can have. And so I love to do that kind of thing, to really stay in touch with the readers. So that's one thing I do to stay in touch with them. But quickly, another thing I do is I add readers' names to every single book I write. So if you haven't been in one of my books and you want to be, I do a little post. Who wants to be in the next, say, Sarah Roberts book? I've already got my list for book 21 when it comes out next year. But I do have my list. And every time I post, like, oh, here's the cover art, I tag all those people. Oh, and here's the release date. Oh, the pre-order's up now. I tag all those people. And I want them to know that their book is coming out, the one that they're in. So often what they do, though, is they're so happy that their name's in a book too. And so it's a give and take. I'm so happy to include my reader. I love the integrity behind that and the honor of saying, hey, thanks to my reader, because without you guys, I mean, I would just be writing stories for myself. So thanks so much. Let me include you. You can be a character. What do you want to be? And I get them to tell me what they want, a bad guy, good guy, whatever. So we do that. And then they post all over every single platform they have and tell everyone at work. And I've even had a couple of readers buy dozens of books and hand them out to the family. And so it's really good for them. It's really good for me.
Cool. And so when you say you put out a post, are you managing this through your mailing list, or are you in a Facebook group, or how are you doing that connection interface part?
Yeah, good question. I only do it through Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. But generally, Facebook is my big one, and it shoots out to Twitter for me. And I take private messages from Messenger from Facebook. And this might be shocking, but I actually don't have a mailing list.
It is shocking, but I already knew that. I just wanted to make sure everybody out there watching understands there are multiple ways to do this. You don't have to have it.
Yes. I don't have a mailing list. I don't collect email addresses. I probably should have for the last few years, but I've never done it. I've had people explain the benefits of these things, and I just have so much happening and so much going on that I think I've kind of let it just slide to the side, and I've still not done it. And actually, I'm completely overwhelmed with all the traveling and the work I still have in front of me. I just got the edits back from my publisher for book 2 of another series, and I have another thing I'm doing with a script I'm turning into a novel, and my other book I'm writing, and I have to go to another conference in 4 weeks in North Carolina, and I'm just so swamped. The last thing I'm thinking about right now is reaching out and trying to build a mailing list. So maybe over the winter I'll try that, but I've never done that.
Yeah. Well, but it seems like you found other ways to get that engagement piece and to really connect with people. So I think, that's the key, is having somewhere you can do it. There's definitely lots of rumblings about making sure that part of that is at least something that you control, because if, Facebook changes their rules or BookBub stops doing something or whatever, then you're, a little bit of a captive audience. But
that's so true.
Just doing it in the first place and developing the skills of actual legitimate engagement with readers. A lot of people think asking a question like, what's your favorite book, is engaging readers, but that's just asking questions. And so I think you've done a really good job of actually engaging with people in a way that's meaningful for them, which, as you said, has some fun and interesting benefits that come back to you as the author as well. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I am thinking it will get some of our people thinking about different ways of managing engagement and different options and things that they can do as well. So yeah, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up? Any last words of wisdom? What do you wish, if you could time travel back in time to like 2011, say, or right before you were starting this whole publishing adventure, what would you tell past Jonas that would help him navigate through things?
Write faster.
Right? Faster. Excellent.
Yeah, earlier. I was only
Yep.
doing 2,000 words a day in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until 2012, 13 where I started to pick up my pace. Yeah, I had more time back then to just write.
Right.
And I wasn't writing as fast as I could. So that would be one thing. But one other thing I would say, though, if you want one more piece of something that might
Sure.
help is one thing I never do, and I implore all writers to not do, is go on to social media and say, buy my book.
Yes.
The best way to advertise your book, number one best way to advertise your book is write another book. That's the way I believe in it. That's what I believe. Write another one. So put your book out there through a publisher or self-publish, and then write another, and then write another. And you will find momentum. Yes, you can do some social media, but be social on social media. Yes, you can do the postcards. You can do this and that. You find a reader that's quite engaging with you on social media. Ask them to be into one of your books, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of neat little things you can start to do. But the important thing is write another book. They say today that self-published authors have to prepare to write at least 3 to 4 books per year to maintain a competitive level with the rest. You want to be above that, then get to 6 books a year. I know that sounds insane to some people, but if you're going to self-publish, you've got to pump it up.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The stats I was reading yesterday were saying that you have to be within 2 months of your last release to keep the algorithms happy, Amazon wise. And that with every month that goes by, roughly 30% of your sales drop off. So every month that goes by that you haven't published, then that's about what the numbers are saying at the moment. So yeah, solid advice. Just get your butt in the chair, get your fingers to the keyboard, and get it out of your head. Exactly.
Yep, absolutely. You've got it.
Awesome. Well, we will put the links to Jonas's books and BookBub profile and everything below this video, so you can hop on and take a look at how he's doing things and be part of that active community. And thank you so much, Jonas, for taking the time to chat with us today. And for the rest of you, get your butt back in the chair and get writing. As we discussed, that's the only way you're moving things forward. So
yes, and thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Always glad to chat. Thanks so much. All right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you around the Academy.
Thank you for being a part of this Creative Academy event. If you're not a member yet, join us today and unlock a wealth of resources, masterclasses, feedback opportunities, and online community events designed to help you reach the next step in your writing journey. No matter what stage you're at, we've got a helping hand to guide you along the way. Check out our free resource room if you'd like to get a taste of how we can help you reach your writing and publishing goals. Thank you for bringing us along on your writing and publishing journey, and Donna, Eileen, and I hope we'll see you around the Creative Academy soon.